Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Who Gives a Folk. And today I want to talk about something a little different. It's a 2010 BBC sitcom called The Great Outdoors. Now, though it's called a sitcom, it isn't full of raucous laughter, little punchlines, and studio audiences. It's a more gentle, pastoral sort of comedy, very much in keeping with Detectorists. And I'll be arguing in this video that The Great Outdoors can be seen in many ways as a precursor to Detectorists. But whereas Detectorists has a large following, is often mentioned in folk horror references, even though it's folk drama, not folk horror, The Great Outdoors just seems to have been forgotten. So I'll be arguing the similarities between them and why I think anybody who likes Detectorists will find this an enjoyable alternative or addition. And I'll also be discussing some of the themes in it that I think echo folk drama down the decades. So to set the context, The Great Outdoors is about a rambling club. It's on the brink of extinction. There's not many members left. And those that have got an invested interest in keeping it going to a certain extent. The leader of the group is called Bob, and he's very much a traditionalist. He has his own set ways and patterns, and that's how he likes things to operate. In this, the rambling aspect, it is again similar to Detectorists, where it's about a club of metal detectorists, and it's about the dynamics of the club, the dynamics of the friction, and it's all, of course, set in rural areas, set in open fields. So the two have a very similar sort of context in that way. So part of the appeal of The Great Outdoors is, funnily enough, footage of the Great Outdoors. There are scenes that dwell on the sunset or dwell on visions of the countryside where 2 or 3 counties meet. And in this, again, it shares with Detectorists, and that they both linger on the countryside, linger on the agricultural fields. And in this way, the countryside isn't just there for looking nice. It's the stage on which the little dramas, the little storylines unfold. It is the backdrop, the stage. It has an impact on how these people make their decisions. And that is a classic trope of folk drama. Now, they're both similarly presented. There's no, there's no canned laughter. They rely an awful lot on single camera shots. So there's no sort of cutting from this face to that face to this face. It's about watching the whole picture, taking it in. There's no music, it's not got an overburdening music soundtrack which deflects from the atmosphere. It has its own atmosphere in the pictures and in the dialogue, in the way that the stories unfold, and that's very different to a lot of modern TV. I think that's that makes it special in that way as well. So the main storyline that underpins the 3 episodes, and there are only 3 episodes of The Great Outdoors, 3 half-hour episodes, very short, and I think a lot of people might have expected there to have been more. Detectorists end up with 4 or 5 seasons, but The Great Outdoors is just this short, sweet, little collection of 3 episodes, largely overlooked, almost forgotten footage, and in a way it's its own little capsule. Now, the great tension that underpins The Great Outdoors is that between tradition, ritual, and modernity, innovation, change. And this is represented in the arrival of a new club member. She's come from another walking club, and she tries to bring their ways of doing things, GPS signals, structured breaks, very sort of organised and efficient approach to rambling, which just impacts on the way that Bob carries out his ways. It impacts on his little rituals, his little traditions, and this underlying tension between our ways and the new ways that are being brought in carry the programme, and in that they echo the dilemmas of folk drama down the decades. I think it's probably best exemplified when they go to what they expect to be a nice country rural pub and find that it's a gastropub. It's changed. Their expectations have been not met. Some of them are less unhappy about it than others, but it's that thrusting of change onto your expectations, that thrusting of change, modernity onto the rural atmosphere. And in this, we sort of, it follows some of the stories of A Canterbury Tale, where Mr. Culpepper was the sort of guardian of the old ways, fighting modernity, trying to keep the old ways alive, keeping them relevant in the present. And to a less effective extent, that's what Bob's role is in The Great Outdoors. And you see that again in the Detectorists. They have their rituals, their ways of doing things, and when these get challenged, it causes upset. One of the examples would be how the two main characters in Detectorists will sit in the field drinking their tea, and they've both watched the same programs at the same time in different houses, so that they can sit and discuss them together in the fields. And when somebody watches something without the other or doesn't join in, it causes a pang, it causes that little bit of uncertainty. It's a disruption of the rituals, it's a disruption of the old ways that they work. And I think that speaks to has a really strong resonance with people across this country. In the countryside, you're seeing the old ways changed, challenged, unwelcome developments, unwelcome changes that the local people have no control over. And they feel that their way of life is being threatened, their way of life is being undermined, their way of life isn't valued. This is represented in these two series. It's represented by Mr. Culpepper. The question is modernity, is change always good? Is it something we should just go along with? Are we losing something in the old ways that we're just putting to one side because they're not profitable, they don't turn the market? Have our values changed so much that we lose what's really worthwhile? So, to conclude, that's why I think The Great Outdoors is not just an enjoyable experience to watch, it's not just a precursor to Detectorists, it's also an encapsulation of a lot of our current concerns, a lot of our current fears, especially those who live in the countryside. I think it's a slice of TV which is very rare on TV nowadays, and it is part of our unfolding folk drama tradition that we see down through the decades. If you like Detectorists, I would really advise that you check this series out. It is available on DVD and some streaming services. I think it's worth it, a really good another look. So if you like Detectorists, check out The Great Outdoors. If you've liked this video, like and subscribe. Hopefully I will see you soon. Until then, take care and enjoy what's left of our summer. Goodbye.